Hello and welcome to Lemieux Reviews, where we bring you the stories you may not yet have heard of. My name is Ross Lemieux, and I'll be your host. Today we bring you part 21 of Once and Future, our mythological fantasy story following three protagonists as they try to put an end to the stories that plague them. When we last left off, they were in Bath trying to avoid a Gorgon. Let us join our brave adventurers now. They switched up the cover finally, giving us something different in the form of Rose with her bow riding the dragon she befriended. A very cool cover for the 21st issue. This comic was created by Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora, Tamara Bonneville, distributed by Boom Studios. The trio make their way cautiously into Bath, warily avoiding the Gorgon. Gran giving a little lesson along the way on the debate that surrounded the statue in Bath in the Temple of Minerva. As they make their way through the streets, they turn down one such lane, littered with people who have been turned into stone. Some completely whole, some had been smashed on the ground. They safely make it to Rose's family estate, a building that seems to be for those who are well off. Though the old woman's lament and foul mood are not lessened by reaching their destination. Reaching the door, Rose attempts to contact her parents by calling out to them. At first, there is no answer, but after a moment, voices can be heard inside, moving things so that the door can be unbarricaded and opened. And once the door opens, we see both parents safe and sound inside. After Rose embraces her parents, they all retreat to the safety of the home. After a brief explanation of the circumstances and a reveal of a reflective brass shield, they choose to move out once again. But once they walk out the door, a voice calls out their knightly names. A new knight named Iliold has found them to make them come and serve the new Arthur, or he will fight them. So to distract the knight, Gran throws a grenade. As the blast goes off, they book it, trying to keep ahead of the knight. But at the same time, it has drawn the attention of the Gorgon. As they run, they open fire on him, though the bullets seem to do no harm. As bullets ricochet off the knight, it gets up and starts to get its bearings back. So the group rallies at the temple, only to notice that they are being tracked by the Gorgon. So they try to lose both inside, Gran taking the shield from Rose's father. She then slams the shield down on the Gorgon's head to blind it, and they scamper down the halls, some being carried as they run. As they run through the temple, they come up to the ledge where the bash should be, replaced by the river Styx. Being trapped, they come up with a plan to pit the two fabled characters against each other, calling out to the knight, warning him of the creature, and he takes the bait. The Gorgon traps them in a room, firing off arrows, the group only able to blindly shoot back at the creature, till something small hits the Gorgon in the back. It's an eyeball. As the Gorgon turns around, we see that the knight has ripped out its own eyes, so the Gorgon can't turn him to stone. The snake-haired monster strikes first, hitting the knight with an arrow in the shoulder, and the knight retaliates by putting his sword through the Gorgon's guts. The monster, now wounded, retreats deeper into the temple, hitting the knight in the other shoulder, giving the non-story people the chance to escape. A passing idea to take the Gorgon's head is floated by the group, but also gets shot down immediately, for how dangerous that would be. Making it back to the castle, they realize that Rose and Duncan can't stay there anymore, now that the Arthur's knights can sense them, so they resupply and get ready to leave once more. Duncan later finds Gran writing down all the information the survivors would need to know in emergency. Of course, taking the time to complain about how she could have done that for him, so he had an easier time of it. Only to get rebuffed and say she was there when he needed anything. Shortly thereafter, being rejoined by Rose and her parents. Saying their goodbyes once more, they decide to take a photo together as a keepsake in case something happens, or just so they have a memory of the moment. Cherishing the moment, she scrawls on the back of the photo, before putting the photo in the memory drawer, and walking off once more. She finds the orderly and lets him know that he will be in charge of the group, having the most experience with dealing with people. He is reluctant to take charge of the group, though, saying how he doesn't feel like he is a leader in any way. Grant says he'll be fine and hands him a box of note cards with how to battle any monsters that show up, like how to use a weasel to kill a basilisk, just as an example. And so they head out once again in order to protect everyone else from what may come. Nimue once more watches them from a distance, tracking their moves, planning her next step. Later that night, Rose's father and the orderly sit in the main room, going over the cards Grant had left behind for them, when from outside a terrible noise erupts, drawing their attention, and so he looks out the window. And what he sees through the rain and the thunder is a giant figure lurking around the castle grounds, looking for them, hunting. Man, there's so many new pieces of lore and first appearances in this comic. Let's start with the river Styx. The river that acts as the boundary to the underworld is traveled by the ferryman Chiron and is connected to the Titan named Styx, she having taken Zeus's side in the uprising. The river Styx is mentioned in a lot of stories, one notable one being the story of Achilles, who got his invulnerability by being dipped in the waters, all except his heel. Next is the Minerva Temple in Bath, which is a real place the comic is describing, functioned as a grand temple and bathing complex. Around the 1st century it was created. Was found again in the 19th century and was dedicated to the goddess Sulis Minerva. It sports a Gorgon face depiction on one of the walls, one of the only depictions of a male Gorgon. Then we have Iliald, traditionally from Welsh mythology, a nephew of Arthur coming from Arthur's brother Madoc, one of the 3 golden-tongued knights, and in story dies and comes back as an eagle. And then lastly mentioned in passing is the basilisk. Only mentioned and never actually seen in the issue, it is titled King of the Serpents, whose stare and breath can kill in an instant. And in comics, they weren't kidding when they said in myth that the scent of a weasel or the crow of a rooster can kill. Now, as a final aside, there was one last appearance, but since I'm not 100% sure on it, I didn't mention it. It's the last panel that shows a giant human-like monster. I think it's referring to Jack and the Beanstalk's giant, but since they didn't say, I'm not 100% sure. But with that, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Please like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment down below to let us know how you liked it. Till next time.